Classic horror at its best now on BBC2, crackling with atmosphere, dark humour and some fabulous overacting. James Whale's Bride of Frankenstein.
Hey guys! Today I'm doing the final season of the BBC2 Horror Double Bills. This is from 1983 and it's the 8th and final season, and it's unusual because this season they're all from Universal, all black and white films, the 30s and the 40s monster films that they did. And I have a theory that they always put the best film on second. Up to now it's 0-7. The second film's always beaten the first film. So it's just my opinion. Yours might be completely different to mine. So let's see if this final season the first film can beat the second film. Also this season, week 2, they only did one film, The Bride of Frankenstein, so I'll not count that one. And the last week, instead of 2 films, they did 3. So anyway, the first week had Dracula from 1931, and the second film was Frankenstein from 1931. So anyway, Dracula, I think it's brilliant. It was the very first film I reviewed on this channel. Bela Lugosi's at his best playing Dracula, and it's kind of unique because Bela, he hardly played Dracula. It was only really this film, and he did a film with Abbott and Costello make Frankenstein. So unlike Christopher Lee, he hardly played Dracula, but he's still very popular. And this film's brilliant. I especially like the beginning part where it's set in his castle in Transylvania. Really atmospheric. You see a giant spider in his castle. Looks really horrifying. So it's an amazing film. And Frankenstein, that's another classic film as well. I think Boris Karloff is at his best playing the monster in this. He looks really creepy and the makeup's fantastic for its time. And Karloff looks thinner in this film and he looks more scarier somehow. These Universal films had amazing makeup, great sets as well. Both of these 2 films don't have music score, so I think that makes it even eerier somehow, not having music blasting. However, out of these 2 films, I've got to give it to the first film, Dracula.
Listen to them, children of the night. What music they make.
So that's the first film 1, the second film 0. Week 2 only had one film, The Bride of Frankenstein from 1935. It's strange they only had one film on this week, I don't know why, but they picked the best Universal horror film ever. I think The Bride of Frankenstein's Universal's masterpiece. It wipes the floor with all the other films, and the bride looks great at the end. And I love the line when the monster says, "We belong dead." It pulls the lever down and it blows the castle up.
We belong dead. Ah. Ah.
But it's a great film directed by James Whale. He mixes humour and horror. You feel sorry for the monster. So it's a great film. I'll have to do a full review on my channel of this film. So I won't count this film as a mark because it doesn't have a film to go up against. So it's still the first film 1, the second film 0. Week 3 had Dracula's Daughter from 1936 and The Son of Frankenstein from 1939. So Dracula's Daughter, it's quite a good film, but considering it's a sequel to Dracula, it's disappointing. And I was disappointed when I was watching it as a kid as well. I was wanting to see Dracula, not this bloody woman. And it's surprising at the time that there's little hints of lesbianism in the film. It is quite good, but it's not a patch off Dracula. And the trouble is, with them making this film, it kind of stops them doing a series of Dracula films featuring Bela as Dracula. It would have been great if Universal had done a series of Dracula films like they did with Hammer with Christopher Lee. The second film that night was The Son of Frankenstein. This is the 3rd time Boris Karloff plays the monster. He's getting a little bit chubbier at this point, so the monster looks a bit bigger in the face. But it has a great cast. Basil Rathbone, my favourite Sherlock Holmes, he's in this film playing the Son of Frankenstein. And you also see Bela Lugosi again playing Yegor. And he turns up again in the next film, The Ghost of Frankenstein, playing the same character. So this is like a big production. It's a great film, it's exciting, And it has a good ending. I love the bit where Basil Rathbone's on like a chain and he kicks the monster into a sulphur pit. So out of these two films, I'm definitely giving it to the second film.
How did he get out of here? You make him well. You lighten it. After you go, he get up and walk.
So that's the first film, the second film won. Week 4 had The Mummy from 1932 and The Ghost of Frankenstein from 1942. So The Mummy has Boris Karloff under heavy makeup again playing the mummy. And a lot of fans say this film's slow moving. And it is a bit, but I still like it. I especially like the scene with the mummy. You only see Boris Karloff like under bandages for a brief scene where he gets activated, but it's a classic moment. And I think he looks the best mummy on screen. It's all to do with the way his bone structure is. He looks great as the mummy, great makeup. Unfortunately later he takes his bandages off and he's just like this weird looking Egyptian with crumbly looking skin. And it's sort of like a love story as well, this film. The second film that night, it's The Ghost of Frankenstein, and Lon Chaney Jr. now plays the monster. He's not as good as Karloff though, but the film itself's brilliant. It's an underrated gem. Bela Lugosi plays Yegor again. He puts his brain into the monster, and at the end of the film you see the monster and he starts talking in Yegor's voice. I thought that was a great way to end the film. And then a beam hits the monster, dies in the fire. That would have been a good way to end the Frankenstein series, but they didn't, they carried on. But it's a great underrated film. So out of these two films, I'm definitely giving it to The Ghost of Frankenstein.
I am not Dr. Catling. I am Igor.
So that's the first film 1, the second film 2. Week 5 had The Wolfman from 1941 and Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman from 1943. So The Wolfman has Lon Chaney Jr. playing the werewolf. It also has Bela Lugosi in the film. And the werewolf has great makeup. Jack Pierce, he did brilliant makeup on these Universal monsters. And this film was successful, it spawned 4 sequels. The second film that night was Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, so it's kind of like followed on from this film. Bela Lugosi plays the monster, and that kind of seems a clever casting idea at the time, because Yegor's brain was in the monster, but now he plays the monster. So in theory it should have worked, but Bella's like really hammy and OTT and he just doesn't look right under the makeup. Lon Chaney Jr., he plays the werewolf, and you expect to have a great massive fight because of the title, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, although it should have been really called Frankenstein versus the Wolfman. Now, I was expecting this big fight when I was watching it as a kid, but they only fight a little bit at the end. So I've always been a bit disappointed with this film. So these two films, I'm definitely giving it to the first one, The Wolfman. So that's first film 2, the second film 2. Week 6 had The Son of Dracula from 1943 and House of Frankenstein from 1944. So Lon Chaney Jr. plays Dracula, and it's a strange casting decision because he doesn't look right. He's like too chubby in the face. You expect vampires to be thin, but he doesn't look right. But the film does have a fun ending where his coffin's on fire and the sun's coming up, and it is a fun film. The second film that night, House of Frankenstein, crazy film this. It's got Dracula played by John Carradine. Lon Chaney Jr. plays the Wolfman again, and this time the monster's played by Glenn Strange. Even Boris Karloff pops up in it as a character. So it's a really entertaining film. There's a lot going on in it. So out of these two films, I'm definitely giving it to the second film. So that's first film 2, the second film 3. Week 7 had The Mummy's Hand from 1940 and House of Dracula from 1945. So The Mummy's Hand, it's got Tom Tyler playing the mummy Carus, and it's my favourite in the Mummy series. I think this one's really good. I especially like the scenes where you see the mummy and its eyes are like dark, like blacked out. They don't do that in the other Mummy films, and I think it makes the Mummy look really creepier. I thought that was excellent. And the film's got lots of humour and scares, and it's just an entertaining film. House of Dracula, it's followed on from House of Frankenstein. John Carradine plays Dracula again, Glenn Strange is the monster again, and Lon Chaney Jr. is the werewolf again. And it's an entertaining film. It's not quite as good as House of Frankenstein, but it's still good. And it's kind of sad that this is kind of like the last proper monster film that Universal did, featuring Dracula, Frankenstein and the Wolfman. Although they did do like a comedy with Abbott and Costello. Abbott and Costello made Frankenstein, but I don't really count that because that's really a comedy. This is like the proper end to the series. Unfortunately, you don't see much of the monster though. He gets activated at the end, and then there's like an explosion, and that's the end of the film. So you don't see much of the Frankenstein monster in this film. So out of them two films, it's very close, but I've got to give it to The Mummy's Hand. So that's the first film 3, the second film 3. So it all counts on this last week. And this is the week where they did 3 films. They also connected with Edgar Allan Poe, they're based on his works. And also all 3 films, Bela Lugosi's in all 3. The first film's The Black Cat from 1934. The second film's Murders in the Rue Morgue from 1932. The third film's The Raven from 1935. So The Black Cat, it's about devil worship. It has Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi in. And these two would team up in 8 films together, 6 by Universal. And Boris Karloff's keeping his wife, a dead body, preserved in this room. And the house looks really futuristic. It's real weird design. It's an underrated film. I think it's really good, this one. I'll have to review it properly on my channel. The second film that night, Murders in the Rue Morgue, it's got Bela Lugosi and he's got this ape that's doing crimes for him. It's a fun film, but it's nothing special. The third film that night, The Raven, from 1935, got Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff again teaming up. Boris is under makeup again. It's a good film, but nothing special. However, it's got the distinction of being the last film ever in these Horror Double Bill seasons. So out of these 3 films, instead of 2, it's 3. I've got to give it to The Black Cat.
Why is she like this? Is she not beautiful? I wanted to have her beauty always.
So that's the first film 4, the second film 3. So finally the first film's won. So overall the seasons, that's the first film 1, the second film 7. So it still kind of proves my point that the second film's usually the best one. So out of the 8 seasons, I'll give you me top 3. In third place, I've got Masters of Terror from 1979. This is because the second film was always a Hammer film. So I thought that was a great season. In second place, the Horror Double Bill from 1980 season, because there was loads of variety in that season, lots of Amicus anthology films and loads of variety in that one. But my favourite one has to be Dracula, Frankenstein and Friends from 1977. That's partly because of nostalgic reasons. This is when I was a kid and it got us really into horror films watching that season. And the title's great as well, Dracula, Frankenstein and Friends. So people are probably wondering why I'm reviewing these seasons, and it's because fans of a certain age, this was before VHS, if you missed the film, that was it. It was gone for years and years, and God knows how long it would be before you saw it again, if ever. Whereas these days, you're stuck for choice, you can watch anything. And these were the days before VHS. However, by 1983, VHS recorders were starting to become popular in homes, and soon you ended up renting them from video shops and recording stuff off the telly so you could do your own seasons of films. And then you got videos that were banned and put on a video nasties list. But that's for another time. I'll do a series about video nasty videos. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look back on these BBC2 Horror Double Bill seasons. Yeah, like, subscribe and share everyone. Bye. Bye.
Scared yet? You will be. There's a furry monster coming to get you on BBC2's Universal Horror Season continues with Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman at 1:10 past 1.